Allahabad, India. Our story begins with the end of the British Raj, symbolized by this pedestal without a statue. Let us take a look at some of the things left behind by the British that still evoke memories of the period of their rule. This building is the public library at Allahabad, built in the style known as Victorian Gothic. And this is Alfred Park, with its old cannons and its pathetic empty bandstand. If you listen carefully, you may just hear faint echoes of the band music. Once Queen Victoria's capacious posterior graced this monument, but now the jungle is beginning to reclaim it. We are now entering an English country churchyard in Allahabad. Buried here are some of the 3 million Britons who died in India during the 2 centuries or so of British rule. Many of those who perished were little children who died of cholera, typhoid and other such diseases. Among the Europeans 100 years ago, ignorance of hygiene was probably even more widespread than it is among poor uneducated Indians today. And now the India of the Indians. We are in the civil lines, the centre of what used to be the European part of the city. It is the rush hour, about 9:30 in the morning. There goes a Gandhi-like figure with bald head and dhoti. He won't require the services of this pavement barber. The best time to see the civil lines is early in the morning, when it is cool and quiet. After the mutiny of 1857, the authorities felt that Calcutta was too far away from the centre of India to function as the capital, and they therefore planned to make Allahabad the new capital. Later they changed their minds, but in the meantime the civil lines had been laid out, with a number of broad, straight avenues. Here, flanked by cowsheds, is a boys' school. The boys are chanting Jai Hai, victory, as they do on parade every morning. Even the poorest Indian families seem to appreciate that education is essential for advancement, and this bodes well for the future development of the country. And now we join the thronging crowds and take a trip into what was originally called the native quarter and is now known as the city side. Oh, what a relief to get away from all the noise and bustle of the city, fascinating though it is. We have come to a typical residential house in the civil lines, built some 40 or 50 years ago in a large compound. During the short winter season, the garden is a mass of flowers. It is the best season of the year from every point of view. This is the mistress of the house, and she has a visitor today. They seem to be on good terms. But now she's getting angry for some reason. What has he said to upset her? Oh Lord, the poor fellow's getting the worst of it. Indian women are tougher than they look. He'll remember that next time. Among the visitors to our garden is this mongoose family. The mongoose is the natural enemy of the snake, and it is said to be immune to snake's poison. With human beings it is a friendly creature, but it can become destructive if allowed to become a household pet. Another frequent visitor to the garden is the woodpecker, whose vigorous pecking can be heard quite a long distance away. One curious sight is that of bats sleeping upside down, suspended from the branches of a tree. And now the white Sahib is being given a haircut by his barber. If you haven't got a private barber, you can always go to a street barber, of course. From the public laundry we go to visit some of the Mughal monuments of Allahabad, one of which is the tomb of Prince Khusru, son of the Emperor Jahangir. In contrast to the old Muslim monuments, here is a new Hindu monument in course of construction. It depicts Lord Krishna, one of the heroes of Hindu mythology, together with his charioteer Arjun. And now, all over the city, preparations are in full swing for what is probably the greatest Hindu festival of the year, Dussehra. High arches decorated with paintings and coloured lights straddle the streets, and elaborate floats are being prepared for the great procession that marks the culmination of the celebrations. The Dussehra procession brings to life the principal events of the epic saga the Ramayan, and particularly its joyful climax, the return of Ram and Sita to their ancestral city of Ayodhya after 14 years' exile in the jungle. Dussehra is a great time for worship of the various deities, and the different communities in India each worship and celebrate in their own particular way. The Bengalis, for instance, give preference to the goddess Durga. They make elaborate effigies of the deity, only to cast them into the river Jamna at the climax of the celebrations. Feeding the poor is an act of charity at all Hindu festivals. Here, to the accompaniment of a good deal of noise from the crowd and the loud beating of drums, a priest prepares a puja, or prayer session. And now the crowds are gathering. The procession will begin as darkness falls, and will continue for nearly 3 hours. The procession begins. It is a long series of tableaux depicting important events described in the Ramayan. These tableaux are mounted on carts drawn by bullocks, and electric lighting is provided by generators pulled along behind the bullock carts on rickshaws. Considering how rough and ready these arrangements are, it is amazing what results are achieved. This scene shows the betrothal of Ram and Sita. And here, Sita is performing a puja to Shiva in the presence of a priest. Just as the Greeks had Homer, so did the Indians have their bard called Valmeeki. Here we see Valmeeki, as it were, reciting the Ramayan. One of Ram's most faithful friends was Hanuman, who is depicted as a monkey, but who was perhaps in origin an ugly aboriginal Indian. In this scene, Hanuman shows his devotion to Ram by keeping him close to his heart. This again shows Sita before her marriage to Ram. This scene depicting two warriors on horseback is one of the most inventive. By the laws of probability it should collapse, but somehow it doesn't. This is King Dussehrat, the father of Ram, seated on his throne. And here is yet another elaborate tableau depicting the boat that took the exiled Ram and Sita across the River Sharyu on their way to the jungle. This scene shows Ram and Sita and Ram's faithful brother Lakshman at Panchavati, their place of exile in the jungle. And now the climax of the procession, as Ram and Sita, magnificently attired, return in triumph from the jungle to their ancestral home in Ayodhya. The next big event in the Allahabad calendar is the All India Music Conference, followed by similar events at which many of India's most famous dancers, singers and instrumentalists appear. Here someone is playing the shehnai. And here a young student of the Allahabad Music College inaugurates the dancing. She is followed by the well-known singer Manna Dey. More dancing, this time by Kumud Chugani, a stunning film star, but also a very fine classical dancer. Unfortunately, a disturbance in the audience necessitated a change in the program. But on another evening, the opportunity arose of seeing the inimitable Gopi Krishna with his superb miming.